Welcome in, everyone, for this deep dive into Make PR Great Again, MPRGA. They've got this really uh, attention-grabbing brand identity, and today we're going to break down what they're all about.
Okay.
Now, the name itself is a pretty bold choice.
Yeah.
What were your initial thoughts when you saw Make PR Great Again?
Well, it's not exactly subtle, is it?
No.
I have to admire the audacity. I mean, especially in an industry that often values, discretion.
Yeah.
I think it immediately begs the question, who are they trying to reach with this?
Right, and their website actually states that their mission is to empower American businesses in the fight against misinformation and cancel culture. It's a loaded statement.
It definitely is. It seems like they're targeting a very specific audience, people who maybe feel unheard
Right.
or even threatened by what they perceive as a biased media landscape.
Exactly, and which kind of brings us to the founder, German Kellis.
Okay.
He claims his previous company was devastated by, and I'm quoting here, the radical left and fabricated news stories.
Oh.
It feels very much like they're crafting a narrative.
Yes, definitely. And that narrative feeds directly into their service offerings. I mean, you look at their press release packages. They've got names like Patriot Recognition and Real Professional.
Yeah, they've got some interesting pricing, too.
Okay.
They range from $99 to $747.
Yeah.
It seems fairly standard, I think, for press release services.
Yeah.
But then there's this bulk option for $7,776.
Oh.
Like they're really leaning into this very specific Americana, both in their messaging and pricing. It feels very deliberate.
It does. It feels almost like a political campaign.
It really does. Let's talk about their customer reviews.
Okay.
So they've got a presence on Trustpilot with mostly positive feedback. People are praising their fast service, impressive results, and easy-to-work-with approach. But some reviewers actually mention aligning with MPRGA's political stance.
Really?
Yeah, it's almost as if they're joining a movement rather than just hiring a PR firm.
Wow. It seems that they've successfully tapped into this desire for businesses to kind of, align themselves with very specific values.
Yeah.
Even if those values might be considered, I don't know, controversial. What I find so interesting is they're leveraging this idea of shared values as a selling point.
Right. It's not just about getting your press release out there. It's about getting it in front of the right people, the people who, already are with you. And this is where it gets really interesting. They have a plethora of positive reviews, but there are a handful of negative ones too.
Okay.
Now, while they're few and far between, they do exist and shouldn't be ignored.
Right.
So you have to wonder, with such bold branding, are these positive reviews just based on the quality of service, or could there be an element of shared ideology kind of influencing those ratings?
Yeah.
It begs the question, how much does shared ideology really factor into a business transaction, especially now?
It's a valid point. How do you separate genuine feedback from potential biases in this kind of scenario? It's tricky.
Very much so.
It's a complex issue.
It really raises questions about online reviews in general and how much weight we should give them, especially when a company has such a strong brand identity.
Sure.
Their strategy makes you think about the changing dynamics of the PR world. Like, it used to be about getting your message out there to the biggest audience. But now, with all these, niche markets and targeted online communities, it seems like appealing to a specific group, even at the risk of maybe alienating others, might be the way to go.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating shift, and it speaks to this, increasing fragmentation of the media landscape, where businesses can just bypass traditional gatekeepers and go straight to their target audience. But it also kind of makes you think about, what's the role of PR in all this? In shaping public discourse.
Yeah, for sure.
MPRGA seems to be aware of these shifting dynamics. They use a lot of, buzzwords, narrative control, and defending against misinformation.
Right.
What do you make of all that? Are they just using buzzwords, or is there something deeper?
I think it goes deeper than buzzwords. It's just, in today's world, the digital world, information spreads so fast that controlling the narrative has become so crucial for businesses.
Yeah.
A single negative story online can just go viral overnight.
Completely.
And it can really damage a brand.
Yeah.
So in this type of environment, MPRGA is, positioning themselves as the sort of protector, right?
Yeah.
Shielding businesses from these, what they perceive to be unfair or biased attacks.
Right. And they're almost like this PR firm and crisis management team, all in one, specifically catering to businesses that, as they put it, feel threatened by cancel culture.
Yes, exactly. And that term cancel culture has become so I don't know, loaded, I guess,
Yeah.
in recent
It's
years.
very loaded. What does that even mean, like, in a business context?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, essentially, it refers to this idea that businesses can face, backlash, boycotts, reputational damage for views that are considered offensive or maybe practices that are considered harmful
Right.
by certain segments of the public.
Right. So MPRGA is tapping into these anxieties.
Yeah, definitely.
Offering businesses a way to, I guess, preemptively defend themselves.
Exactly.
Which brings us back to, ethics.
Yeah.
Where's the line between, like, advocating for your client and maybe potentially manipulating public perception?
It's such a difficult one, isn't it? I mean, on the one hand, every business has the right to present themselves in the best light.
Of course.
And defend against criticism that's unfair. But then on the other hand, you've got this responsibility to be truthful,
Right.
to be transparent.
Yeah.
And that's where this gets interesting because they're not just, they're actively aligning themselves with a particular ideology.
Right.
Which I think is fascinating. It's like they're saying we are the PR firm for businesses that share these values.
It's a bold move, and it seems to be working for them, to a certain extent.
It is, but
It's got their people.
it's very interesting. It limits their reach
Oh, for sure.
because by aligning themselves so closely with a particular ideology, they're kind of excluding businesses that don't fit that.
Right.
So it's a trade-off. They're gaining this really loyal following,
Yeah.
but they are potentially alienating a huge part of the market.
Yeah, and it really begs the question, like, what is the future of PR? Are we going to see this more fragmented landscape where, like you said, PR firms cater to these ideological niches, or will we kind of stick with that traditional model of, just appealing to everyone as much as possible?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say, but, MPRGA's success, definitely suggests that there is this growing appetite for this type of niche marketing where it goes beyond just the products and services.
Right.
It's about the values,
Yeah.
the ideology.
It's like they're pioneering this new type of, like, I don't know, brand activism where your political stance is as important as your logo.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's working for them.
Yeah.
They've really carved out this niche by appealing to this, very specific audience.
Mhm.
But what do you think, like, what's the end goal here? Is it just about PR, or is there something, bigger going on?
Right. It's the big question. I mean, on the surface, they're offering, PR services. But then you look at the messaging, you look at the branding, it feels like they're going for something more. They want to be more than just, a PR firm. They're trying to build a movement.
Yeah.
It's like this whole community of like-minded businesses.
Right. It's almost like they're creating this ecosystem
Right.
where certain values are, amplified and certain narratives are prioritized. It's fascinating.
It is fascinating. Yeah, it's a little concerning, too.
Oh, for sure.
Because it does make you think about those echo chambers and, misinformation spreading in these kind of closed systems.
Totally. And it just kind of highlights, like, I don't know, the challenges of today's media landscape in a way, where, like, truth and objectivity just seem, I don't know,
Yeah.
harder and harder to find.
It feels like it.
And when businesses align themselves so closely with, ideologies, it's like, how do you even tell what's real anymore?
Exactly. Yeah, it's very blurry.
It's so blurry. So how do we, I don't know, as consumers, ensure that we're hearing these diverse voices
Yeah.
and that, businesses are held accountable no matter what side they're on?
It's tough, We have to be so discerning, way more than we used to be. Critically evaluate everything, the information we're taking in, the businesses that we support. We can't just accept things at face value anymore. We've got to dig deeper. We got to ask the tough questions. We got to demand that transparency.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We can't shy away from those tough conversations or those viewpoints that maybe make us a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, a healthy, public discourse, whatever, relies on us being willing to engage with different perspectives, even if we don't agree with them.
100%.
Well, this has been quite the deep dive
It has.
into MPRGA, Make PR Great Again.
Yeah.
They've definitely given us a lot to think about in terms of, PR strategies and brand identity and just this whole intersection of business and politics in the digital age.
For sure. And it's not going away.
No.
If anything, it's probably just going to get,
More intense.
more